All right, so in today's video, I want to talk about a new league that has started up that has me incredibly excited and why I think this is a league I've been waiting for since I joined the sport. So the new league is called the KFL, Night Fighting League. I find it funny, I recently did a video about is it okay to be called a knight and boo hurt in the different terms, and this has no relation to that. It just happens to be coincidence. I didn't know the name of this league when I made that other video. So if you watch that, please don't correlate or causate or connect the two things. What I will say is that I did know that this league was coming, that there was some information about it, that what it was about, and I've been very excited to be able to get enough details to be able to share it with you and everyone else, and why I'm very excited about this league. So when I say league, I'm talking a fight series, right? So it's called the KFL, Night Fighting League. But it's not the league in the sense of like the NFL, the National Football League, where if you play in the NFL, you don't play in any other league, right? There's no league in the US that I'm aware of that is exclusatory in that way. And this isn't either. It's just a league you can participate in while participating in other events or leagues or fight series or whatever. So I think it's important we kind of differentiate what we mean when we say league in this sport under the current conditions of right now. So anyone fighting in KFL can fight in AMMA or Boo Hurt International events or Armored Combat Sport other events or whatever other league or series you're in, right? So it's not something that's exclusatory, but it is something that's different. And this is something I've been looking forward to since I started fighting in this sport. When I first joined pre-COVID 7-ish years ago, in New England, we had chapter match series. If you watched any of my videos, you've probably heard me talk about chapter matches before and why I think they are the best format that, for spectators and to grow the sport. There are a lot of really good leagues and events and series opening up over the last couple of years. Off the top of my head, I constantly talk about AMMA because out of Nashville, I think they're doing fantastic work with their pro fight or outrance or whatever you're going to call it, one-on-one type of fights, right? Your cage fights. And they're doing a really good job differentiating, creating their own buzz and event there. And I think that is awesome. However, I am a melee fighter. That is why I joined the sport. That's what I care about. I like team fights. I like fighting with a team. I found this night fight sport out of the blue, and I said, wow, it's the only combat sport in the world where you can really fight with a team. You can work at team tactics, and I came from a background of playing basketball and tournament paintball and other team-based sports. It's what I love. So I love team-based events. I love melee. I don't love the current tournament format that almost everyone's running, right? So you show up to an event and you have a bracket of tournaments and you fight a team for 3 rounds, maybe the best of 5, best of 3, whatever it is, you move on. And I just don't like that. I don't like it for a bunch of reasons, but I don't like it for growth of the sport. And what I mean by that is they're growing. The tournament events are growing. Carolina Carnage is coming up pretty soon. That's a huge event in the U.S., right? There's going to be a ton of teams there. There's a Tier 1 or Tier 2 league. There's a bunch there. It's awesome. Carolina Carnage is an amazing event for fighters. It's very hard to spectate and watch a tournament, right? The other thing I struggle with tournaments is I'll show up for a tournament and I'm in armor and I armor up at 9 in the morning maybe, right? And I might have fights then. I might have fights in an hour. I fight an hour. I wait 2 hours. There's another fight, right? Then sometimes you think you got another fight in 20 minutes and you're there for a full day wearing your kit for a few fights throughout the day, right? Again, not like a regular sport. What I want and what I've been dying for is a sport feeling like this, like any other team sport. You show up and there's a match, right? 2 teams compete against each other. That's what the KFL is. Night Fighting League is going to be a chapter match-based format. There's some other really cool stuff about it that I want to talk about as well. And I'll get to that in a minute, but what I want to really talk about, the primary driver for me, the exciting part for me, is the chapter match format. So the format is going to be teams of 12, so there's 4 teams at an event, right? So 2 teams compete against each other, 2 teams compete each other on day 1. The winner of those events fight each other for first and second place on day 2, and third and fourth on day 2, right? So there's only 4 teams at an event, right? And it is two teams head to head for the entire, chapter match, the entire match. So you're not fighting a bunch of different teams in a tournament. There aren't a bunch of brackets, and you're going to be competing. And chapter matches have different point systems or time limits, but these are going to be fights to 11 points. So melee round, you win the round, you get a point. First team to 11 points wins the match. The format, as I understand it, and again, this is the beta version of this league. We haven't even had an event yet. I'm going to my first one in a couple weeks. I'm going to list right here and show you all of the events that are coming up, and I'll talk about kind of the format of how the series works. As, again, best of my understanding, if I get something wrong, I'll get corrected, and I'll maybe make a video about it, or I'll leave a comment on it, right? So, here, as I said here's the schedule again, so you can take a look at the different events that are coming up, right? So what I love about this, teams of 12. So you're going to show up with your team of 12. On your team, you need to have your melee fighters. You need one male longsword fighter, one female longsword fighter. You need one lightweight pro fighter, one heavyweight pro fighter. Everyone else doing melee. You can overlap roles. You can have someone do pro fights and melee. You can have your longsword person fighting the melee. But that's what a team consists of. Up to 12 people need to fill those roles. So the format's really simple. 3 rounds of melee. So team 1 and team 2 fight 3 rounds of melee. After those 3 rounds are done, then there's going to be a longsword fight, men's longsword match, 3 rounds of that. Then after that, there's 3 rounds of melee. Then there's the women's longsword, 3 rounds of melee. The lightweight pro fight, 3 rounds of melee. Heavyweight pro fight, 3 rounds of melee. And then at that point, if there are more rounds of melee needed, if no team has 11, then they'll continue doing 3 rounds of melee until a team has 11 points, right? So in this format, the winner of the day has 11 points for melee. That's the melee win. The longsword, the pro fights, those are not scored toward your team's total for the individual event. Those are individual fighters winning against themselves. They will be scored towards the overall standing of the team throughout the series. And that's something that's a little more complex to kind of give you the concept of it, right? So what I love about this is 2 teams are going to go head-to-head and they're going to fight, and fans can watch it, and they can cheer for one team versus another team. Just like when I watch, the Patriots play the Steelers, I can cheer for one team. I'm not watching the Patriots play the Steelers, play the Packers, play the blah, 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 and have 12 teams at an event that I go, for who am I voting for? What's going on? Where are they going again? It's a sport. It feels like any other sport. You're going to show up and have a set amount of events, a set amount of fights between 2 teams, and I love that. That's what I like, right? So this is really cool. The format, the other thing I like about this, and this is different than other events, and this is totally good, it's why I like the variety in the sport, is that these are going to be focused on sport conventions and fitness conventions, fighting conventions, right? These events are going to be sport-based. We're stepping away from the reenacting side of it and towards the sports side of it in the KFL. Again, my priority and what I like. These are fitting the things that I'm excited about. So the first event is going to be held in LA, which as of right now is still on. It's not an area that the fighters are at. It's the Fit Expo in LA, a huge fitness convention with all different types of fitness and sporting events. There's a BJJ tournament there as well. There's a whole bunch of powerlifting and weightlifting and other stuff like that. It's a huge convention. I've participated in some of these convention events before. At Reno, we go to Reno every year and compete there at a convention. That's actually one of the events now in this KFL league, which is awesome. So you're going to go to this event. We're going to compete there. 2 teams head-to-head. Winner of that one wins there. There's 2 other teams that go head. Winner of that wins there. And they fight the next day for championship, 3rd, 4th, right? So if we're trying to grow this in the sense that we want fans to start following teams and knowing fighters and knowing the sport, this feels like a sport to me. It feels like something I could eventually turn on the TV and watch a match. Not a 2-day tournament of watching, 12 hours of fights. It's a couple hours per team. You could certainly go, hey, I'm going to watch the Executioners versus X team, so 2 of the teams are there, Executioners and Headsmen. They're going to fight, and the winner of that wins. Yay! And you can watch it as a match like any other sporting event. I'm so excited about this, right? It's really, really cool. This is the beta version of this. This is the first time this is happening, so there's going to be some growing pains and everything else that happens with it. And eventually, my understanding is the goal is to have teams be regional. We have an East Coast team, Central teams, West Coast teams, and those teams are going to be able to go and compete against each other, either at their localish events or travel to the bigger ones. So right now I'm going all the way to LA from New Hampshire, going all the way across the country. I think in the future, our team probably won't go across. They'll be fighting the local ones as this grows. That's my dream and my vision of it. I think it's important to say here, by the way, that I'm not affiliated with any of this sense, and I'm not running it. I am not behind the scenes. What I'm sharing is the public knowledge that I know about it, and as a fighter who's going to it, right? So there may be a lot more that I don't know about, or maybe some things that I get wrong. I'm a participant. I'm not an owner in the league. I'm not a coach in the league. I'm not a ref. I'm not affiliated in any way with it, other than being someone who's on a team that's going to that, and that's why I'm super excited, right? All right, so we talked about the format. That's the thing I'm most excited about. I've been waiting literal years to have a league that feels like a regular sporting event that you can click on the TV and watch a match, right? I don't want a tournament, I want to watch a match. That leads me to the next point. This is being run by Ion TV. Ion's a large company. They are sponsoring this. They are running this. This is huge and very, very good for our sport if it goes well. No matter what you think about this format, or you think about the teams in it, or the people running it, or whatever you care, this is good for us as a sport to have Ion TV wanting to run our events, right? To having a large company being involved and helping to hopefully put on a fantastic show, put this towards something maybe on TV at some point. I don't know. I'm talking about my hopes and dreams, but it's good news. All right, so that's part one, Melee team prioritized event, which is not a tournament. It's an actual event, right? Very happy about that, right? It's something you can turn on and watch just like I do any other sporting event. I put on the basketball, and I'm in New England again, so put on the Celtics, I watch a game, and I go, hey, that was a good game, and I go home. I don't go, well, got to watch 12 hours of it today to see when my team finally gets to shoot their hoops. So we're making this, again, very sport-like. I'm very happy for this. As a team sport, and this is, again, my dream. I know I'm repeating myself if you're watching this. I'm just incredibly excited. All right, part two, Ion TV. Big company involved that has TV, network and everything else that this can grow under. Awesome. Part three, we're holding this at fitness and fighting conventions. We're getting away from Renaissance historical reenactment stuff. That's not to say that stuff isn't really good, and we have leagues and events that prioritize that. Those are wonderful and they should stay. But we're venturing into a different area that hopefully we can grow market segment in and hopefully expose more people to the sport. Because let's be honest, if we're just fighting at reenactments, the only people who are going to it are the people who are already into reenactment and already into this type of fighting, and they're probably already participating, or they're doing HEMA, they're doing something close to it, and they're involved in that combat sport world of medieval martial arts, or whatever you want to call it. I want to expose this to everybody. To do that, we get out of our comfort zone and we go to something different. That's why this is awesome. Part three, and the thing that I also probably should have mentioned earlier, but it wasn't a priority to me, is that this is being sponsored. So INTV is sponsoring it, but they're paying to fly fighters out. That's huge. I know other leagues are doing this for some of the pro fight leagues, for the one-on-one, and it's also fantastic, but it's a lot more when you're flying out full teams, right? So the teams are being flown out, their lodging's being covered, and there is prize money available for all teams competing. My understanding is $5,000 in prizes per event. I don't know the breakdown of first place gets what, second, third, fourth. I'm not aware of that. I do know that individual things like longsword have their own payout, but I don't know the breakdown yet. Again, I'm learning about this as I go. I've been waiting to make the video till I get enough information, but I'm super excited about it, right? So this is us moving towards legitimacy and growing this beyond a niche sport. This is us saying, hey, we're going to pay people to go do this instead of me paying my money to travel to compete, right? This is us saying we have exposure with a large company, a network company that can really, if this goes well, can boost this out there. This is fighters getting paid to not only win, but participate. This is huge, right? So I'm very excited to do it. I'm going to share any videos I can, share any information I can as I go. First event is in not this weekend, not next week, but the weekend after that, right? So I'll be at the Fit Expo in LA. competing there with the executioners, and I am very, very excited. So if you have questions, if you want to be involved, want to know more, like, subscribe, comment, all that wonderful stuff. Please, if you hear about this or you see videos about it, share it. I understand that there will be people out there who go, this is not my cup of tea for the sport. There are people out there who love the tournament format, right? Who love the kind of all day 25, 50 teams show up, do their brackets and they, compete. And I understand the value of that. There are people who are going to be very upset that this is not going to be historical. It's going to be more sportified versus the more historical side of it, right? I understand that. But what I'm trying to make sure we understand with this is it's not an either or. It's a both. Let's have those historical tournament events. In fact, I'm still going to compete in those and love them, and I like going to them. I'm actually genuinely disappointed I won't be going to Carolina Carnage this year. They were back-to-back weekends, and our team had to pick one or the other. And this time around, we picked the one that does fit the format we've always wanted, which is that chapter match format, and the one that's paying us to go there. That was part of it, right? And honestly, like putting our effort into growing this side of it, because I think there's a lot of people doing really good work on the other side of it. So this is a announcement for me of this league, sharing my information about it. It is me sharing, my excitement about it, and also saying, hey, it's finally happening, I hope. We're finally going to start having, sport TV shows and fights that you can someday click on that TV, watch a night fight, watch a match, and then be able to talk about and follow your favorite team. That's the dream.